Greetings, taxable assets.
Sir.
Or should I say, collateral damage. Welcome to Departmento Analytica Audit Log number 882 to Beta. I am Senior Auditor Valerius Krauss. I am currently sitting in a room that smells of ozone, burnt circuitry, and the lingering despair of 1,000 failed saving throws. I'm looking at a stack of data that represents the collective failure of the 41st Millennium's commanders.
Good morning, Auditor Krauss. The ventilation unit is running at 94% capacity today, sir. The tech priest said the rattling is, well, he said it's within acceptable tolerance parameters.
Silence, scribe. I did not ask for a weather report on the office climate. I asked for the ledger. Today, we are not here to entertain. We're here to audit. We're here to identify the physical liabilities in the current war effort. And looking at the engagement records, citizens, I see a significant deficit in your spiritual tithe.
The engagement metrics, sir.
The tithe, scribe. Do not play coy with me. A recent audit of the listener engagement records shows a catastrophic shortfall. As of this moment, every citizen listening has been placed on a mandatory payment plan. Your debt is to be settled in likes and subscribes immediately. I am indifferent to how you secure these funds. Recruit a friend via the share button if you must. Sell your organs. Liquidate your pile of shame. I don't care. Failure to comply is not recommended. Now, scribe. Identify the civilian contractor responsible for this week's intake.
Yes, sir. Handling the file now. The source material for this audit comes from the civilian contractor known as, it says, Warp Friends. The file is titled 40k Win Rates Week of Feb 2nd, 2026 Warhammer Tournament Meta-Analysis.
Warp Friends. It sounds like a children's Holovid program about holding hands in the Empyrean while your soul is slowly digested by demons. Disgusting. I've reviewed their preliminary submission. It is a fiscal liability full of rounding errors, speech-to-text hallucinations, and a level of gloss-brained optimism that suggests the author has never actually seen a Necron flay a guardsman alive. It is soft. It is imprecise. And in this department, imprecision is heresy. Scribe, what is the counter-audit file?
The counter-audit is the Pro2 Meta-Audit Verification, sir, file dated February 2026. It refers to itself as the truth.
Open the ledger. Let's see how deep this movement deficit goes. We're beginning with Section 1, Nomenclature and Chronology. The civilian contractor, Warp Friends, seems to rely on an abominable intelligence for transcription. The result is administrative incompetence. Read the first error.
Yes, sir. Item 1, reading from the Warp Friends transcript. They're discussing the lower tier of the meta, sir. The report says, coming in at 41.2% win rate, Emperor Sheldon.
Emperor Sheldon.
Yes, sir.
Please, scribe, enlighten me. Who is Emperor Sheldon? Is he a new chaos god of mild annoyance? Is he a lost Primarch who specialized in knock-knock jokes? Or perhaps he is the ruler of a microscopic empire located entirely within a fungus?
Well, sir, reading the context of the Warp Friends report, they seem to be quite fond of the faction. They suggest that despite the low win rate, the fun factor is high. They argue that Emperor Sheldon brings a unique chaotic energy to the table.
Fun factor.
Right. Based on the Pro2 verification file, however, I believe this is a transcription error for the Emperor's Children.
Obviously is the Emperor's Children. But let us look at the numbers, scribe. 41.2%. That is not a win rate. That is a bankruptcy filing. Warp Friends talks about fun. Does the ledger have a column for fun?
No, sir. Just victory, defeat, and points differential.
Exactly. Fun is what civilians call losing slowly. Let's dig into this bankruptcy. Why is the Emperor's Children faction at 41%? The Pro2 audit confirms the release date for their codex was March 15, 2025.
It notes that the faction is, quote, nearly a year into their life cycle. Warp Friends seems to imply they're still finding their footing, sir.
Finding their footing. They are a year old. In the competitive meta, a year is a geological epoch. They aren't finding their footing. They are rotting on the vine. They are an underperforming asset. They are trying to pay 2026 prices with 2025 currency. The Pro2 audit suggests a specific cause for this insolvency. Find it.
Scanning. Here. It notes they lack durability against the current guard/Necron shooting inflation.
Inflation, a perfect term. Let's visualize the transaction, scribe. You put your expensive, fun Noise Marines on the table. They are wearing power armor. In 2025, power armor meant something. It was an investment. But in February 2026, against the current market leaders.
Well, the report mentions the Astra Militarum's new output, the grizzled company detachment.
Exactly. The Monrus Vanquisher, the Kelvican Bomb. These units don't care about your fun. They don't care about your power armor. They treat it like wet tissue paper. The Emperor's Children get shot off the board before they can even scream for Slanesh. It's a bad trade. You invest 200 points in a unit, and the guard deletes it with 150 points of shooting. That is a negative return on investment. Next item. What else did the speech-to-text algorithm butcher?
Item 2, Warp Friends states, Astra Militarum continues to do well.
Astra Militarum.
Ah!
It sounds like a cough syrup for a throat infection. Or perhaps a very disappointing vacation destination in the Segmentum Obscurus. Come to Astra Militarum, where the beaches are made of ash and the water is acid. The decline of high Gothic education is staggering. Correct the record.
The entity is the Astra Militarum. The Pro 2 audit verifies their Codex release as January 25, 2025.
Another old release. But wait, the Astra Militarum is not performing like the Emperor's children. They aren't bankrupt. They are thriving. Why? Scribe, check the Grotma's addendums.
Checking. Here. For the listeners who might not follow the digital release cycles...
Don't coddle them, Scribe. If they don't know what Grotmas is, they haven't been paying attention to the data slates.
Right, sorry. Grotmas refers to the December digital content drops. The audit references the Grotmas 2025 drop. Specifically, the Grizzled Company detachment released December 5, 2025.
There it is, the second wind. You see, listener, the Emperor's children are a stagnant account. They're relying on old money. But the Guard is a high volatility stock. They received a massive injection of capital rules capital barely 2 months ago. The Grizzled Company. It's not just doing well, as Warp Friend says. It is dissolving. It is the difference between a corpse and a soldier who just found a fresh magazine of last rounds.
Warp Friend seems to think the Guard's success is just luck. They mention rolling hot.
Luck is a poor man's explanation for efficiency. We will get to the mechanics later, but let me assure you, a 50+% win rate across thousands of games is not luck. It is industrial-scale murder. Next error. This one angered me personally.
Item 3. Warp Friends reads, Gene Sirs at 38.9%. Final date attachment released Declets 2024/2025.
Do dates mean nothing to these people? Time is a resource. If you squander it, you are stealing from the throne. Gene Sirs, Gene Stealer cults. Look at the timeline error. Warp Friends implies this is new tech.
The Pro 2 audit is very specific here, sir. It states that the final date attachment was part of Grotmas 2024, released December 18th, 2024.
2024. Warp Friends lists it as potentially 2025. It is legacy code. It is 13 months old. In the competitive meta, 13 months is the Dark Ages. We were still worried about Eldar back then.
But Auditor Warp Friends does point out that despite the age, the win rate is surprisingly high for the few who play it. They call it a hidden gem.
A hidden gem. Scribe, look at the play rate. What is the participation percentage?
Let me see. It says here a 1.5% play rate.
1.5%. That is not a faction. That is a rounding error. That is a statistical anomaly. Warp Friends admits they are struggling for representation. But why? Because nobody can afford to play them. Not financially, mentally.
Mentally, sir.
It is a faction for insider traders. You need a PhD in sequencing just to put a unit on the table. To play Gene Stealer cults effectively in 2026, you need to understand the movement phase better than you understand your own family. They are struggling for power. They're struggling for market share. They're a penny stock that requires high-frequency trading algorithms to yield a profit.
It says here their win rate is actually 55.3% in the Pro 2 audit, but again, with that tiny play rate.
The statistical anomaly of the elite. A few geniuses piloting a broken machine. But for the common man. For the average taxable citizen listening to this broadcast, do not buy this stock. It is a sinkhole. You will buy the models, you will paint them, and then you will forget to declare a crossfire marker, and you will be tabled by turn 2. It is a bad investment for the casual investor. Now, Scribe, let's move to the meat of the audit. Section 2. The claim that made me spill my recaf, the Necron win rate.
Moving to Section 2. The 55.3% fallacy. Warp Friends claims, and I quote, Necrons, number 2 at 55.3% win rate. They seem quite impressed by this number, Auditor. They call it healthy.
Healthy. 55.3%. A comfortable number. High, but manageable. The Goldilocks zone, as the optimists say. Averages are for cowards, Scribe. Averages hide the bodies. If I have 1 foot in a bucket of ice and 1 foot in a fire, on average, I am comfortable. In reality, I am in agony. Open the deep audit. What is the real number?
The Pro 2 audit breaks the data down by detachment, sir. It says...
Read it. Don't just stare at the abyss, Scribe. Report on it.
It says 55.3% is the faction average. But if you isolate the Pantheon of Woe detachment, the win rate is actually 59.2%.
59.2%. Do you understand what that number means, citizen? In a balanced economy, 55% is the ceiling, 60% is a market crash, 60% is hyperinflation. It is oppressive. It means for every 10 games played, 6 are foregone conclusions.
If the Pantheon is winning that much, why is the average only 55%?
Because of the dead weight. Read the data on the Hypercrypt Legion.
Hypercrypt Legion detachment is sitting at a Oh dear, a 20.0% win rate.
There is the drag.
Yeah.
You see, Warp Friends looks at the pile and says, oh, a 55% average. Very nice. But the reality is a Ponzi scheme. The hypercrypt players are the victims.
Why is hypercrypt failing so badly? I recall it being popular. Teleportation, right?
Teleportation is a gimmick if you cannot hold ground. Hypercrypt picks units up. Great. You are safe in the sky. But while you are in the sky, Scribe, who is standing on the objective?
No one, sir.
Exactly. You cannot audit an objective marker from the reserve pool. Hypercrypt players are removing themselves from the board, thinking they're being clever, while their opponent simply stands on the circles and scores points. They are modeling for advantage by leaving the game. Meanwhile, the pantheon of woe players are looting the treasury. If you remove the pantheon players, the Necron faction is insolvent.
So it's not a strong codex overall.
It is a broken campaign supplement. The 500 World Tithe supplement, released January 2026. It is barely a month old, and it has already distorted the market beyond recognition. This isn't strength, Scribe. This is a monopoly, and monopolies must be broken.
Auditor, about that page.
What now, Scribe?
The cogitator is making a scraping noise when I scroll.
It sounded like a thunderhawk crashing into a manufactorum. Do we not have budget for silent interfaces? Of course not. Just like we don't have budget for decent recap. Have you tasted what is in the break room today?
I don't drink the recap, sir. My interface valves clog. And honestly, I think it smells a bit like burnt hair.
Burnt hair would be an improvement. It tastes like Prometheum runoff filtered through a guardsman's sock. A guardsman who's been marching through a swamp for 3 weeks. It is an insult to the palate and a hazard to the digestive tract. I am half convinced the Departmento uses it as a solvent to strip paint off rhino hulls. I took one sip this morning and I saw the face of the Emperor. He looked disappointed.
I could see if there's any tea, sir.
Tea? We are auditing the apocalypse, Scribe, not hosting a garden party. You know what?
Yeah.
I bet there is a civilian out there listening right now thinking they know better, thinking, oh, Auditor Krauss, you missed a decimal point on the Chaos Knight win rate, or Auditor Krauss, actually the recap is a blend of high-quality beans from Terra.
I doubt they are thinking about the beans, sir. But Warp Friends did seem very confident in their analysis.
I challenge them. Go ahead, citizen. Type your little correction in the comments. Tell me how I am wrong. Tell me how I missed a nuance in the Adeptus Mechanicus sub-faction data. I dare you. I have more ink in this quill than you have brain cells. I have audit logs older than your civilization. Correct me. See what happens. See if your comment survives the purge. I will audit your grammar, your logic, and your very soul.
Are we done with the break, sir? The listeners might be intimidated.
Fear ensures compliance. Back to the ledger, section 3. This is it, Scribe. The smoking gun. The geometric crisis.
Section 3, the Nightbringer incident.
The Nightbringer. The Cetan shard of death incarnate. And more importantly, a model that has caused a logistical nightmare for tournament organizers everywhere. Warp Friends made a guess. Read the speculation from their report.
Warp Friends states, Nightbringer base size, likely 80 millimeters or 100 millimeter. They seem unsure, sir. They argue that because the Void Dragon is 80 millimeter and the Silent King is 100 millimeter, it must be one of those.
Likely. Speculation, the mother of poverty.
Yeah.
Likely does not hold up in court, and it does not hold up on the tabletop. If you build a strategy on likely, you are building a house on quicksand. The Pro 2 verification has the hard data. January 24, 2026. The unboxing video, we have the caliper readings. What is the actual base size?
The Pro 2 verification confirms it is 90 millimeter round.
90 millimeters.
Not 80, not 100.
Seems arbitrary, sir.
It is malice, Scribe. Games Workshop chose the middle path specifically to maximize our suffering. The Void Dragon is on an 80, the Silent King is on 100. Why 90? Because Chaos loves ambiguity. But this is not just an aesthetic choice. This is a mathematical weapon.
And in Vath, sir, does 10 millimeters really make a difference?
Does 10 millimeters make a difference? Scribe, does a bullet missing your heart by 10 millimeters make a difference? The calculus of suffering demands precision. Pick up your abacus. We are going to do the geometry live. We're going to visualize the crime scene.
Oh dear. My math processor is a bit laggy.
Work through it. The old Nightbringer model. Fine cast. A relic of a shameful past. What was the base size? 40 millimeters, sir.
Tiny. A speck. You could hide it behind a lamppost. Now, the new plastic model.
90 millimeter.
Right. Now, consider the rule. Distortion fields. It is a 6-inch aura measured from the base. Calculate the radius of influence for the old model.
Radius of base, 40 millimeters roughly, 0.79 inches, plus the 6-inch aura. That's a total radius of 6.79 inches.
Now, the new model.
90 millimeters is roughly 1.77 inches, plus the 6-inch aura. That is a total radius of 7.77 inches.
Now, the area, the footprint of doom. Calculate the area coverage. Pi times radius squared. Go on.
Right, sir. Old area. Running the numbers. Approximately 145 square inches. New area. It's about 190 square inches.
And there it is, a geometric expansion. But it gets worse. The Pantheon of Woe detachment allows a supercharge. You can extend the aura to 9 inches at the cost of 3 mortal wounds. Run the numbers for the supercharged 90 millimeters base.
Extending aura to 9 inches, so a total radius of 10.77 inches. Area is by the throne. It covers approximately 364 square inches of the board.
364 square inches. That is a 31% increase in board coverage compared to the old baseline. This is inflation, Scribe. This is zoning fraud.
But sir, how does this affect the battle? It's just an aura.
Just an aura. Visualize the board. A standard tournament ruin is often L-shaped. With a 40 millimeter base, you can tuck the Nightbringer deep into the corner. He is hidden, he is safe. But with a 90 millimeter base, he clips out. He physically cannot hide. He is too fat for the terrain.
So it's easier to shoot.
Yes, but offensively. Think about the move block. A 90 millimeter base is a dinner plate. If you park that in a choke point, nothing gets past. You can tag 2 enemy units in melee that are 5 inches apart because your base bridges the gap. You can shut down a charge lane simply by existing. It is not just an aura. It is a physical barricade of plastic.
I see. So if a player uses the old model...
If a player uses the old 40 millimeter model, they are modeling for defensive advantage. It's smaller, harder to see, but they are losing on area denial offensively. If they use the new one, they control the board but get shot.
So tournament organizers must enforce the new base.
Absolutely. If a player puts a 40 millimeter Nightbringer on the table and tries to claim Pantheon of Woe bonuses, they are committing fraud. They are stealing board space from the opponent. It is theft. Pure and simple. Regulation is the only answer. Mandate the 90 millimeter base. Anything less is anarchy.
That explains the win rate difference, doesn't it? The physical footprint of the army has literally expanded.
They have terraformed the meta with plastic circles. Now, let us look at what that aura actually does. Section 4. Mechanics and the meta landscape. We know the geometry is bigger, but why is it deadly? What is the specific mechanism of our destruction?
The Pro 2 audit identifies the core mechanic as the unraveling. Warp friends mention leadership and AP, but they were a bit vague on the specifics.
The unraveling. It sounds poetic. It is actually just brutal efficiency.
Right.
Warp friends was distracted by the leadership debuff. Who cares about leadership in 2026? Everyone passes their tests. The real killer is the AP modifier. Read the mechanic.
Unraveling keyword. -1 AP to attacks targeting units within 6 inches of a monster.
-1 AP. It sounds small. Oh, it's just -1, says the optimist. But combined with Necron firepower, Doomsday Arcs, Locust heavy destroyers, these weapons already have high AP. They're AP3, AP4. You add another point. You are stripping armor like peeling paint.
So Terminator.
A Terminator relies on his 2+ save. He thinks he is safe. The Doomsday Arc hits him, AP4. He goes to a 6+ save. He is dead. But with Unraveling, it becomes AP5. He has no armor save. He's pushed instantly to his invulnerable save. It removes the variance. It turns armor into paper. If you are a vehicle without an invuln, you are scrap metal before you even roll a die.
But sir, I must return to the cost. The supercharge. It costs 3 mortal wounds to extend the range. Surely that balances it. Taking 3 damage on your own god monster seems risky.
Risk? You naive fool. You've forgotten who we are dealing with. Necrons have necrodermis.
Ah! The rule that halves damage.
Precisely. Those 3 mortal wounds, they enter the equation. Necrodermis triggers. They become 2. Or maybe 1, depending on the rounding of the specific interaction. And then reanimation protocols. They heal D3 wounds.
So they pay the cost.
And then the universe refunds them immediately. It is a zombie loop. They burn life to kill you, and then death gives them a rebate. It is free real estate. There is no cost, only profit.
Cat. That does sound oppressive. It's an economic cheat code.
It is a Ponzi scheme where the Nightbringer is both the investor and the bank. Now, compare this to the Astra Militarum, the grizzled company. How are they competing with this madness? Warp Friends calls them lucky. I call them audited.
The Pro 2 audit calls it ruthless discipline.
Discipline, a word I admire, a word this office sadly lacks. Read the rules for the grizzled company.
+1 order. Reroll hit rolls of 1, always. Reroll wound rolls of 1 if the target is on an objective.
Efficiency. No tricks. No magic star gods half-healing themselves. Just pure mathematical certainty. Visualize the tank commander. He orders a Lehman Russ Vanquisher. That cannon shot, which misses half the time historically, now re-rolls its ones. It hits, it wounds, it deletes.
The audit calls it the static gun line.
It is the audit of the battlefield. Every shot is accounted for. The guard is the check of the Necron balance. The Necrons rely on tricks, auras, healing, geometry. The guard relies on volume and probability. If the Necrons are a Ponzi scheme, the guard is a commodities exchange. Cold, hard, reliable. I have a gun, you have a face. I will apply the gun to the face until the face is gone. Simple economics.
And what about the others? You mentioned the technicians, Gene Sealer cults and Drukhari. If Guard and Necrons are the big banks, what are they?
Ah, yes. The specialists, the high-wire acts. Warp Friends was confused by the GSC stats. Struggling but 55% win rate. Let's explain the paradox. The final day detachment.
It uses a rule called psionic parasitism. It allows the army to include Tyranid vanguard units, like gargoyles.
Synergy. Complex, fragile synergy. The GSC get bonuses if the Tyranids are nearby. The Tyranids get bonuses if they leech life off the GSC. It is a biological engine that requires perfect tuning. Explain the sequence, Scribe.
Well, the Magas have to cast the spell. Then the gargoyles have to move within 6 inches. Then you have to shoot. If you mess up the order, the buffs don't trigger.
Exactly. If you move your gargoyles 1 inch too far to the left, the circuit breaks. The engine stalls. You lose. That is why the play rate is 1.5%. It is a penny stock. High risk, high yield. If you mess up your movement phase by 1 inch, the engine explodes. But if you are a genius, if you have the brain of a supercomputer, you win 55% of the time.
Compare that to the Drukhari spectacle of spite. 55.18% win rate.
The Drukhari. Combat drugs are back.
Yes! Warp Friends seemed excited about the return of drugs.
Of course they were. Randomness management. You roll for drugs, you get buffs. Maybe you get speed, maybe you get strength. It is a gambler's addiction. The Drukhari players are pulling the lever on a slot machine every command phase. It's not about the certainty of the guard or the oppression of the Necrons. It's about the rush. Will I get +1 attack or will I get +2 movement?
It seems chaotic.
It is 40k Scribe. Chaos is the baseline. But what we are seeing here is a divergence. You have the haves, Necrons, and Guard who have broken the math of the game. They have industrialized winning. And you have the have-nots, everyone else, who are just trying to survive the crossfire.
The audit mentions the Emperor's children again here, waiting to be deleted.
Look at the board, Scribe. Really look at it.
Sir, the lights are flickering again.
Put the ledger down. Look out the window. Or what passes for a window in this hive. The smog. The endless industry. The smokestacks belching into the void.
It looks the same as always, sir. Gray.
In a dying galaxy, citizens, there are only 2 choices. You have the certainty of the machine, the Astra Militarum, the reliability of the gun, the comfort that if you follow orders, if you re-roll your ones, you might survive. 4, you have the hunger of the star gods, the Necrons, the expanding geometry of death. The base size increases. The board shrinks. The debt grows.
And the others. The Emperor's children. The cults.
Everyone else. They are just rounding errors waiting to be deleted. They are playing a game that ended 6 months ago. They are bringing knives to a nuclear exchange. The board belongs to the Silent King and the Lord Solar now. We're just auditing the casualties.
That is very bleak, Auditor.
It is the truth.
Yeah.
And the truth is the only currency that matters in the dark. We just count the cost. Speaking of currency, have you paid your tithe, citizen?
The likes and subscribes.
For the love of the Empire, tap that like, hit subscribe. It is the only signal that penetrates the void. It is the only metric that keeps the High Lords from purging this entire department. If you do not, I will be forced to audit your personal engagement history next week. And I assure you, citizen, you do not want me looking at your search history.
Nervous shuffle. Closing the file now, sir.
Close it.
Yeah.
Dismissed. Pay your tithes, citizens.